Sorry, it was Hannah and Yasmin.
All right, and if you were not present at the meeting, obviously abstain. So anybody abstaining here, I don't think Hannah was at the last meeting. I don't know who else wasn't there.
I wasn't there either.
Okay, so Hannah and Ali abstaining, and I'm assuming that nobody's against this one. Sure that vote count is right. Wait, how many people are in here? Do I have a vote today?
Yeah, there is 7.
Okay, cool. All right.
Sorry,
On.
and yeah, sorry, I missed that. Who was why didn't I catch that? Who was the mover and seconder for the?
No, you're behind, or you're ahead.
We just did the minutes, right? You said 2 people abstained because they weren't there.
I completely said minutes when I meant to say agenda. So I just took the vote of that one without doing that one.
Okay.
Great start.
Let's just do mover and seconder for the agenda or for the minutes, and we're probably good.
Yeah, so just the agenda vote. Nobody's against or abstaining, just checking. We're good. Okay. And for the minutes approval, just a mover and a seconder. Carly, I can second that. Kaylee. Whoopsies. Okay. All right. Moving on to the audit. Take it away, Jordan.
Hey guys, so basically I'm the auditor from Grant Thornton. We've been auditing your union, honestly, for the last couple of years and everything. We're both Hannah, my colleague who did the audit. I'm the manager on the file. We're both a Brock alumni. We went to Brock and did the accounting program and both ended up in public accounting at Grant Thornton here. So basically, am I able to share my screen to kind of walk through the statements with you guys?
Yeah, just let me make you host, and then you should be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay, try now.
And hopefully you guys are able to see it. Just let me know if you're not able to see it on your screens here.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, so we'll go down to the first page here, our auditor report. So basically at a high level, the reason why you hire us is basically each year, of course, there's a lot of transactions that go through Busuu, lots of things going on financially. And the purpose of these statements is to kind of give you an idea to help you make decisions going forward. Now, the major issue is, of course, there are many accounting standards to choose from. And in this case, we have the Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations that these statements have been prepared by management for your use. Now, you hire an external firm such as Grant Thornton to basically go over the statements. We also check the internal controls, management policies, management decisions to make sure that they're fair and accurate and follow the accounting standards. As such, it's kind of like a third-party assurance that you can rely that these statements, when you're making your decisions, are accurate and fair based on the accounting standard here. And that's basically at a high level what the first 2 pages of our independent auditor report is here. And the very first part there, our opinion right at the top, basically states that we're giving a clean opinion. As such, nothing came to our attention during the audit that we need to let you know about as the board that would make you not be able to rely on these statements in your decision making going forward. And at a high level, it does state that management is the one preparing these statements and we're the ones that are checking the report. And as such, we're reporting to you directly. As such, if you have any questions on it, feel free to both ask me, and Marie and Robert are also on the call who can also give a bit more information in there. So we'll go all the way down to the first page down here, which is your financial position. Now, of course, because Busuu does have a lot of things going on, it does take us a couple of months after year end. So we are kind of looking a bit more in the past year. So this would be your pretty much your 2021 to 2022 year, ending April 30th, 2022. So at a high level, the first one here is cash, and Busuu is definitely in a very healthy cash position here. This is mostly thanks to the surplus during the year. Again, not too many purchases done, and allows you we want to see a nice healthy cash balance. Basically indicates that there's no going concern or that Busuu is going to have any problems paying its debt and stuff like that there. Continuing on down, your marketable securities. So these are all your investments and everything. It is down this year, but of course, this was mostly due to us reporting it at market value. So of course, that change in market fluctuates year over year. Last year, 2021 is very high. As you know, this year kind of has been on a bit of a downhill, honestly. So that's why your investments are just down there. And then the remainder there, accounts receivable, those are basically amounts due to the union there. And we generally like to look more at the aging report. So how long has it been before a customer has paid Busuu? And in this case, we always note that more than 90% is within the first 30 days, which is always good to see that basically Busuu is making sure that they're following up with the customers and that they're being paid on time and everything there. And then the only significant change was prepaids. Now, prepaids also includes deposits this year. So of course, there was an insurance deposit, as well as a few other deposits that are still available from previous years there. But overall, a nice healthy current assets of about 16 million there. Continuing on down, property and equipment. Of course, each year Busuu does do many purchases. This year was mostly the fencing, a few fryers, a few computers, as well as a bit of renovations done on Harvey's there. So that's kind of why you see a small increase there. And then overall, though, a healthy kind of $16 million in assets is very healthy for Busuu down there. Continuing on down into the liabilities, so basically your accounts payable and accrued liabilities, this is what's owing to vendors. And this generally fluctuates due to a timing kind of thing, because of course we have to report rate at April 30th. This at April 30th, about 760,000 is what Busuu is owing. Now, majority of this change is due to the bus contract payment. There was about a $520,000 payment due as of April 30th that was paid in May. So if you remove that, it's generally consistent year over year there. And then finally, the fund balances, we'll touch on a bit more on the income statement there, but of course, year over year, we do want to see a healthy growth in each of those balances there. So before, I know that was a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions on the financial position of Busuu? It's a very healthy position this year. All right. We'll continue on down to the statement of operations. So this year is going to be a little bit different because you have to remember for the last 2 years, we've kind of been going through COVID, and 2021 September was the first year where we're starting to kind of get out of it and kind of get back to a bit of a normal, same with 2022 now. And as a result, of course, commissions and fees at the top there are much higher this year. They're up about 37%. And while that is a nice drastic number, the number that we like to look at from our perspective is the student services here, because as commissions go up, your union is supposed to be helping the students. And based on that, we saw that student services were up about 41%. And generally year over year, about 60 to 70% of the fees go directly back to the services for the students, which is generally around the average where the union wants to be. You want majority of your revenues going back into the hands of the students there. As you can tell here, your product sales, of course, were pretty much close to nil for the last 2 years, but as you were able to open up Union Station and places again, significantly higher. Your investments, as we touched on before, the significant increase last year was again unrealized because those were basically listed at market value. And when we adjust for this year, it's a bit of a loss there. But overall, you do see a healthy increase due to your student commissions there. Now, for the wages and benefits, they are up as well this year, but also Busuu takes advantage of the CEWS, which was a program offered by the government. It was meant to help kind of for emergency wage subsidy. And Busuu did take advantage of that, which is really healthy to see because of the fact that they're taking opportunities that the government is offering there. And that kind of helped you offset your additional wages this year. And then continuing on down, there's nothing too significant to report on your expenses. A general increase from last year, again, as operations opened back up, basically allowed for more events to take place during the year. Utilities, of course, more students, and everybody's back on campus this year. So at a high level, when you look at your final number here, is very consistent with last year. And when that's broken down between all of your funds there, your operating, your internal, and your capital, we see a nice healthy fund balance in each of the funds at the end of the year there. And each year Busu has been slowly growing it, which kind of helps with reserves and future plannings for it. So does anyone have any questions on the income statement? All right. And then we'll just touch quickly. So the statement of cash flow kind of just gives you a high level look at how the cash changed during the year. As I mentioned before, majority of the increase on cash came from your surplus during the year. And then the remainder down here is, of course, you purchased about $180,000 in capital assets. And then for your marketable securities, as you know, during the year, investments are purchased and sold. As a result, we just have to list that on there as well. So overall, it's a nice, healthy $5.7 million at the end of the year. And then the remainder is generally for accounting standards for not-for-profits. There's many notes that we do have to display, including any policy decisions that management has taken to assist the users in understanding how we arrived at the numbers on the financial statement and income statement. And I don't want to touch on too many, but the main one for you that would be very relevant is note 8 here, which is a listing of your internally restricted fund balances. So as you know, when you get the commissions from Brock, it's broken up into many of the different fees and everything here. And this here at a high level is able to give you a healthy balance of where each fund is at as of April 30th, 2022 there. And as you can tell here, each one generally remained consistent or increased from last year, which is generally what we like to see as auditors here to indicate that there's no concerns or anything we should be aware about. And as for that, that is our auditor's report. So I'll be happy to take any questions on any of that, or if you want to touch on any of our notes in the statements as well.
All right, any comments, questions, or concerns? Thank you, Jordan, for the quick presentation. Well, seeing no questions, thanks for coming in and explaining this to us. I'm not much of a finance guy, so I didn't really know what I was reading when I looked at it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And at a high level, like if there was any concerns that we noticed during our audit, I would bring them up now, and I would have already talked to Marie and Robert about them, but they were both very helpful during the audit. As always, they're very open to informing us of what is going on at Busu and everything. And overall, we have no concerns at this time. I did email Marie and Robert a copy of our audit results letter that should be distributed to all of you guys, which has my contact information. So if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out directly to us.
All right, thanks so much. So,
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Jordan.
so we're gonna vote here to approve this. So,
Sorry, I'll bring the agenda back up.
resolve
Jordan,
the-
would you be able to make me host again?
I'm not too familiar with Zoom, so if you're able to walk me through with it, I can
So if
make
you
you
just
host.
see my face, you'll see like the 3 dots that appear to the top right of my little box. And if you click that, there should be an option on there to make host,
Make host.
unless you want
There
to
we
keep
go.
hosting. You can keep doing it.
Jordan thinks I'm having a meeting. All right, guys, so.
Okay, perfect.
All right, be it resolved, the board approves the Busu audit as presented. Do I have a mover? Alex and Aaliyah as the seconder. Would anyone like to abstain on this or vote against? Seeing none, it's unanimous.
Are we
Kelly-
still at 7?
No,
Sorry, let
we're-
me just do a
We
check.
have actually
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
everyone here. It is possible.
10, so 9, because you don't get to vote now. Okay.
Marked, so 8 and then 1 abstention.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mark.
All right. I'm assuming here we have it at 9:45. So I'm assuming that the person presenting this from Brock Sustainability is not here yet.
No, I told them 9:45 to give us lots of time in case there were a lot of questions. So
Skip ahead to the CRO.
yeah, sure. If you want, we can take a 2-minute break, let Robert restart his computer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That works too.
Okay. Thanks, Jordan and Marie. You guys don't have to stay.
Thanks. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Anybody got anything cool going on while we wait for Robert? No. Great. Is anybody doing the classroom talk for today? There's one. Is anybody gonna go do that? Probably not. Okay.
For clarity, I did post it, Kaylee, in the group chat. I would like to I would like to point out that I did do that.
Thank you. I know it's a bad time with you guys going to USA tomorrow morning.
There's one today. What time is the one today at?
It's at 1 o'clock.
Kaylee, how big is the bus and how big is the bag that I need to bring according to that?
I don't know how big the bus is. I think in the confirmation it says what type of vehicle it is, so we can Google it. Check.
Thank you for asking, Andy, because I was also gonna ask.
Got
This
you.
sounds kind of Isabra. (2019) Ford Transit Big Daddy.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, no, that's what it says.
Sorry. It says what? A 20. Wait, what is
Hold on.
Okay, if anyone knows, like, oh, I guess Kelly could just Google it, but it just is a big van.
This is your Chariot.
Oh, whoa. Kind of fun.
Oh, look
you
at
think-
this whole family can fit.
This
in.
is-
Yeah, it's giving John and
These
Kate
are the
plus 8.
cars. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. These are the cars that those shows with the families within a certain amount of kids have.
Yeah, they either have these or the Mercedes vans. Because like there's only 2 companies that make vans this big.
The Sprinter van, yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
These ones are all like,
It's gonna be me and Carly with our 5 children this weekend.
Oh, hopefully you
why
guys
we're
order one with flames on it, like no.
the driver's name is Shirley, so you guys will have to see what she's like.
Oh, heck yeah. Sorry. That's the most exciting thing that I could have possibly been told this morning. I think.
The fact that the van is called the Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
literally-
sure that that'll be the last time we talk about it, and it won't get referenced continuously throughout the entire week.
There's
Till the end of my term, actually, I think.
at my work, one of the burgers is called the Big Daddy. So like when I walk to the table with the burger and then I go like a Big Daddy, it's so cringe. I hate it. I actually hate it.
It looks
Walking
like
up to the table.
Robert's back. Did you want to move on to the returning officer?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just wrote up like a really small paragraph here. So I'm asking the board to consider a motion that says, be it resolved, board approve the hire of a graduate student to fill the returning officer position. And I'll just read this quickly, but there have been concerns in previous years about the returning officer being friends with candidates and showing bias towards candidates. By hiring a graduate student, we're hoping to take steps to eliminate the possibility of them having a connection with candidates while still employing a Brock student. I have been working with the GSA to help administer their elections, and I've created a bit of a close relationship with Mary and Haley from the GSA. So having discussions with them, they also have a bit of a hard time finding a returning officer because they usually just have one election. So it's a job that gets very, very minimal hours. So we're hoping to combine the two. So we would jointly hire a returning officer, and then they would work for Busu. We don't have somebody for October, but ideally they would work for us for October. They would work for us in February, and then they would move over and become a GSA employee for the GSA's March election. And then just a note, there was a motion made by the last board, and Ben can speak to it if he would like, because he put it forward. But if this kind of goes against that motion about hiring a graduate student. So yeah, I'd like the board to consider that. I think it is a move in the right direction. I think that it will help eliminate even like perceived bias of the CRO being friends with candidates or even knowing candidates. I haven't really written anything out about the hiring process here, and I'm happy to have a discussion about that. I'm not opposed to students being involved in the process if you want to help like look at resumes or whatnot. I just hope that anybody who does want to be involved isn't planning on running in February, that you don't know somebody who is for sure running. And of course you wouldn't know, wouldn't want somebody who would know the candidates that would apply as well too. Yeah, so I'll kind of leave it at that, and then I'd like to kind of hear what the board has to say.
All right, thanks, Kaylee. Ben, already got your hand up. You can go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, has the hiring happened? Because I saw that job posting was taken down.
No, it hasn't happened. We did go ahead and post for it to get some candidates in a candidate pool. We only received 4 applications, and I think it was up for 6 weeks. And one of the individuals wasn't eligible, and we didn't want to go forward with the other candidates.
Okay, I just have a follow-up then, if that's okay, Chair.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so I guess just in terms of like reversing the decision made by the board last year, the previous board, I mean, what this would kind of reverse was the already existing policy of the CRO being an undergraduate. But I don't see it like this part going against the process that the board approved last year, and it was just kind of to have students involved in the form of a hiring committee. So that's kind of what I don't see here, is that that's not kind of presented in terms of something that's being reversed. So would that not still be the case, like that hiring committee that we passed? And yeah.
Sorry, did I cut out, or was that?
Yeah, you were frozen for me.
Okay. Sorry, I missed kind of the end of what what Ben was saying, but yeah, so there was a proposal, and Ben, maybe you can speak to it a little bit, but I'm hoping that the board would allow us to move forward with a standard hiring process where we wouldn't actually advertise the position. We would have the GSA do it because we'd be hiring graduate students. There'd be no point in us posting that. And then we would do like the standard, we would leave it open for 2, 3, 4 weeks if needed. We would get together with whoever's going to be involved in the interviews. We'd shortlist, we'd send out interviews, we'd interview, and then we choose who we want to be the candidate. The procedure that the process that Ben laid forward involved a very large student hiring committee, which is something I think we need to actually not have for this position, where we're trying to remove any like potential bias. It's also really difficult when you have a hiring committee with a lot of people, similar to trying to schedule these board meetings, like it's when you need to have everybody there to review the resumes, everybody there to participate in every interview, it becomes really difficult to schedule. So like I said, I'm not opposed to bringing on, a couple students who want to help with this process if they'd like, but I also hope that the board would be comfortable with myself and Kate and Mary from the GSA kind of taking the lead on it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Anything else, Ben?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just in that sense, I think for this kind of like a decision, I think we should like basically review what the full thing of what was passed last year. So I kind of brought forward the motion for the hiring committee that would be like more structured to involve more students. So I think we should kind of take a look at that before passing a kind of motion around this. I mean, I'm okay with the fact that it's a graduate student and that part makes sense, but I think that the other pieces that we had should be intact so that, and I understand the part of removing bias, but I think that it's still better to, for one part, the trust in students is better when there's more students involved in the process. So if we could like really try to make an effort with that, even though it is difficult with scheduling, I think it's worth the effort. And so for the trust of students and also to and to be more thorough, and given that, I believe that we kind of need to review kind of the process in full that was passed last year. And so perhaps we could bring that to next meeting or something, given that we this would be for the February election essentially, then we certainly have the time for that. So that's what I would recommend.
The approval of this isn't like time sensitive, right, Kaylee? Because like it's for the February election.
I wouldn't say it would definitely be needed to be done at the next meeting.
Okay, so I think that's probably like a reasonable compromise, right? To
Yeah. That's fine. I can put something together and then send it out.
everyone's good with that. Nobody has anything against that. So do we have to motion to, oh, Aisha, go ahead. Do we have to motion to table? I can't.
I will move the motion and then we can discuss. I wanted to add more to
Go
it.
ahead.
James, do you want to move the motion to table and then we can discuss? So I can ask my questions, or do you want me
You
to do
can
questions?
just go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Kaylee, I just have a few questions. So first things first, I do think that we should have a student hiring committee, like Ben said, regardless of everything involved, just knowing that just knowing that a student hiring committee working or being tested out or used is also a very good way to reflect people's students' trust in this process, considering that that's technically what we are currently proposing for the executives rather than having elections. So this will also be a great way. I know it won't be as advertised as like executives having a committee, but I still think it'd be important for that to happen as having a student hiring committee, considering that it's still like a student-led process, and this is one rule that is very important or crucial to that process. My other question is, so you mentioned like we want to hire a returning officer, and I was looking through a few things and I discovered that we still technically, I'm not sure what the contract that was drawn up with this person is, but we still have a deputy returning officer or someone on our elections team. And I'm just hoping to clarify what that person's contract is and why they're still technically in the role.
Yep, so the deputy returning officer position is a 1-year contract. So it was, we hired Miriam Nur last year to fill that role. She did a very good job. And going into the election this year, I asked if she wanted to come back and fill the role again. I was very happy with the job she did, and she was very interested in coming back. So we offered her the position again for this upcoming year.
Mr. Chair, can I follow up to that question? Thank you. So I'm just curious because I do DRO or returning officer contract usually run for like a year from like this September to the next September, or because I'm wondering why we would have someone on contract if we don't have any elections during the summer, for example. So we have an election process or election period sometime in October and one in February. So I'm just curious as to why we're paying someone for a duration of time where we technically don't need them working.
Yep, so I guess I shouldn't have said a year contract. We don't hire all of our positions for 12 months. We hire them dependent on how many months we need them for. They just typically don't continue on until the next year, just automatically. If we need to hire again, we would post the job again and rehire. So for the deputy returning officer position, they are typically hired in September. They come on board, they work our October elections. They understand that the role has really nothing to do November, December. They come back and work January, February for those elections. And then if needed, they'll also continue on in March. The March election just usually doesn't have as much going on. So they aren't brought on and paid a salary, they're paid hourly. So it's approximately 80 hours an election. It's really hard to say exactly. We kind of post it as up to so many hours per election period, because an election that we're having right now, where there's a referendum, there's no official no side, we don't have candidates. Miriam is just making sure that Jesse is posting stuff that follows our rules, and Andrea is following our rules, and there's not a lot of rule breakers on our team because we've been through elections before. And then an election in February where we usually have a lot of candidates, then that requires quite a bit more work. So it's not, she isn't brought on and, paid throughout the summer with no work to do. Like, she just works the hours hourly that is needed for the election.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So thank you for clarifying that, Kaylee. So now I'm just curious, if the purpose of proposing a returning officer as a graduate student to prevent bias is put in place, I think this is a question and a comment. I don't see how that purpose or that goal aligns with hiring someone who was hired previously and who's also an undergraduate student. I don't see how that aligns with the goal of what we're trying to do with the returning officer. And considering that they are deputy returning officer, I would have thought that we would have more priority towards the hiring process for the returning officer. But also my question would then be, is it common or usual, like as a process, to rehire someone without putting up the job posting for positions?
Yep, so I'll start, where will I start? That's certainly been done before, where we've offered a student to come back and have a second year contract with us. I've done that a couple times before with student staff that I've had. And then I'll say that the two jobs are very, very different in that the returning officer is the one who would be dealing with any issues with candidates. So they would be dealing with if there's infractions, if there's candidates having conflict with each other, they're the ones that are required to interpret the policy and make a decision. And they're usually the ones that the candidates kind of get upset with and push back on and appeal the decision of. So that's where we want somebody who has a bit of a distance from the candidates. Whereas the deputy returning officer, it's a very administrative role. So as deputy returning officer, Miriam puts together the nomination package, collects the receipts from the candidates. She helps approve campaign material that is just, one-off approvals. And she typically wouldn't be the one who is putting together the infraction reports. And she did have to step in a little bit last year to do a little bit of work that the CRO usually does. And I was very impressed with the way that she handled that. She wasn't showing bias towards candidates. She was showing me messages of a lot of candidates messaging her, and she was saying, I can't talk to you right now. I can't speak to you about this. I thought she handled the election very professionally. So I was comfortable bringing her back, especially knowing that in October, we weren't really going to have candidates to kind of have infractions and candidate conflict and all that. So.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions. Mr. Chair, over to you.
So our next presenter is here, and also I'm told that the construction guys at the front door need to talk to Robert. So if I could, I know Robert and Ben have their hands up, but since we're gonna table it anyways, I'll just motion to table this, and then Robert, go ahead.
It's not on the table, so the motion hasn't been moved or seconded. And if the board by consensus wishes to move forward without any sort of, because it really, there needs to be a motion to table if there's been a mover and a seconder. There hasn't in this instance. With that said, I will jet out just for a second to help our construction guys, and I'll be back in like 2 or 3 minutes. So.
All right, so once Robert gets back, we'll start with the sustainability projects.
Yeah, I was just gonna motion to table it anyways.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
Mr. Chair, I think you can actually start. So Mary and her group will be presenting the sustainability part. I'm very comfortable with. I've read the report in its entirety, and I've worked with Kaylee throughout the entire year. Kaylee and Dave. So I will join it back in progress if that works for everybody.
Sounds good to me. All right. So our next.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, Mary.
Take it away.
I know that you mentioned you had a presentation. Which one of you would be sharing it? Because I'll just have to make you host.
Yeah, so that's me, Kaylee. I'm going to be sharing
Okay.
my screen if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect. I will make you. Okay, you should be able to share now. If, Okay, perfect. Can everybody see? Is that good?
Kaylee, you can see it like without all the notes and stuff, like it's just the pretty presentation.
Just the slide. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you all for having us today. Kaylee, is it okay for me to get started and jump right in?
Yeah, I think so. James is our
Thank you.
chair. He'll lead us, but
Oh, sorry. Thank
I
you,
see thumbs
James.
up from him.
I did see a thumbs up from him. Yeah, perfect. So my name is Amanda Smith. I'm the Center Administrator at the Environmental Sustainability Research Center here at Brock. I'm joined today by my colleague, Mary Quintana, who is the Director of Assets and Utilities here at Brock. Mary will give you a bit more insight on how we came to work together in just a bit, but I'm just going to start off by thanking you all for having us today and having us join your meeting. We're really looking forward to presenting the environmental sustainability plan that we assisted in creating for Busu. And I've lost my mouse. Here we go. So just a quick overview of the agenda. We're aiming to keep this to about 15 minutes today so that you have time also to ask us some questions. So we're going to give you an overview of the project team, a plan overview and the sustainability goals that we flagged for you, your organizational target areas, a few key strategies and action plans associated with those strategies, and then key takeaways and our suggestion for next steps for you. And then we'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have. So in terms of the project team, I'm sorry, my dog's barking in the background here. We worked with Kaylee and Dave from Busu on developing this plan. And on our side, it was myself and Mary, and then two research assistants, both Eleanor Breslow and Alexander Kotufo, both of which one was a co-op student who worked for sustainability at Brock, and the other was a Master of Sustainability student. So their backgrounds were instrumental in helping us frame this plan. So without further ado, Mary, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Amanda. And good morning, everyone. Thank you again for having us here. Oh, Amanda, if you can go back a couple of slides. I talk fast, just not that fast. Thank you. That's awesome. Oh,
there you go, Mary. Sorry about that.
No worries. So we were approached earlier this year at the beginning of the year to work on helping create a sustainability plan. The reason why we were approached before as the project charter, it's because facilities management and the Environmental Sustainability Research Center, we have a track record of working together since we started the project charter in 2018. Ever since we have produced Brock's sustainability plan, energy and conservation demand management plans. We have done reporting, we have done submissions for the Times Higher Education, for the Ministry of Energy, for STARS. So we do have a track record on preparing documents on Brock's behalf and just capturing the sustainability portion of it and advocating for it. So with that background, then we proceeded to start working with Kaylee and Dave, and that collaboration was instrumental in identifying how we were going to approach it. We had already connected with Busu in the past when we prepared Brock's first submission for the STARS ranking system. So that gave us a good idea of where to start. So we decided to use the STARS framework to structure the plan. And the idea with this plan is to provide some guidance and a framework that Busu can use in advancing sustainability from their own end, because they are such an important stakeholder at Brock that it just made absolute sense to make sure that we were not forgetting about this group. Amanda, if you can go to the next slide, please. These are the goals that I mentioned before. So these goals, they are intended to capture Busu's mission, vision, objectives, and values, and really to align with them. And at the same time, we also try to make sure that they were in alignment to Brock's own strategic plan, and in a way that would also benefit Busu itself and really achieve what we were trying to do. So they are very simple, and that's the way that we wanted to structure them. Embed holistic sustainability practices through Busu operations. We know that your operations expand far and wide, so I think that's one of the keys, that it's meant to include all of the operations. Also, the second goal is to encourage research and policy that promote sustainability, both as stakeholders and as participants of the research, to have a significant impact on these activities, and it would be worthwhile to making that a goal. And of course, to be aligning to what we are advocating for at Brock, to foster inclusive and accessible student communities. And the environment, the economy, and social, they play such an important role that it was just natural to make it one of those goals for sustainability. So before I referred back to AISH's STARS program, and this is the very structure that STARS have. It's broken down in categories: academics, operations, engagement, and planning and administration. Within each one, they have subcategories. For Brock submission, we submitted on every single category, but for Busu's plan, we only selected those that had an impact on your operations. So for example, when it came to academics, we didn't address curriculum because that's not something that Busu has control and oversight on, so we didn't include it. Just like for operations, we didn't include grounds because that's under facilities management purview. So those are the examples of the ones that we didn't include, but we did mimic on everything else, the structure of the STARS program. And most of it was applicable. If you look at engagement, the whole category is included. When you look at operations, there's many areas: food and dining, waste, water, promotional materials, that Busu does have inherence on. So it's more than relevant to have it as one of those elements. The same with planning and administration. So we found that this structure really is conducive to not only tracking progress over time, but also in aligning to other initiatives that are going on with Brock and that we can keep track on. Now I will pass it back to Amanda, and if you see on the report, there are many different strategies to follow. So she's just going to take us through some of them.
Thanks, Mary. So within the plan that we worked on developing for you, many of the sections, as Mary said, have several strategies with an accompanying action plan. So for each of the 4 sections that Mary just outlined, I'm going to present to you one example strategy and the accompanying action plan during today's presentation. Obviously, you have the full plan in front of you. So we'll start with, for the academic section, for example, one of the strategies flagged is creating student jobs opportunities that support sustainability. And so in terms of an action plan, there was consensus with a group of us who worked with your Busu staff that this could be done through Busu creating a sustainability role to have ongoing support for sustainability initiatives in your organization. I also want to flag for you here, and Mary will speak to this later when we speak to next steps, but each of the strategies also has an investment and an accountability line that Busu will need to work through and have someone assigned to. So in our experience with strategic plans in the past, we found that it's critical to assign responsibility and resources to each of the goals or strategies that you're setting and hoping to implement. For the next section, operations, you're going to see that this area is vast. It includes energy and emissions, food and dining, purchasing, transportation, waste management, or sorry, waste reduction and water reduction, and then a special focus on limiting promotional material waste. So the example strategy we pulled out here for you is related to waste and conducting annual waste audits. This strategy would include completing an annual audit of the Busu operations, and then perhaps providing an opportunity for students to be involved in that waste audit process. Creating waste reduction targets after you have that initial baseline assessment done would be key. And we'll talk about kind of key performance indicators and next steps with those again, just in a little bit here. The next area, engagement. So this focus area includes both campus engagement and public engagement. And when you look at your plan, the public engagement side is, you know, the policy process that Busu interacts in and tries to sway. So at other institutions, engagement's taken different roles. When we're talking about campus engagement, there's been green teams formed at other schools or something similar. And this is something both Mary and I are really interested in trying to find a way to partner with Busu on in the future. I really hope that through this, we're able to continue to move strategies like this forward. So this one was, you know, encouraging student volunteerism. It could be in the form of a green team, which would help provide ongoing sustainability support for campus initiatives. Your last section here is planning and administration. And so this includes coordination and planning, diversity and affordability, investment in finance, well-being and work. When we're thinking about sustainability in a more holistic way, which we flagged at the beginning of this presentation, this really includes thinking about student well-being, student mental health, whether or not students have access to affordable food on campus. So sustainability is not just about lowering our carbon footprint, and we really try to create a plan for all of you that is holistic in nature and all encompassing. So here I'm highlighting an example strategy around striving to continue to provide top mental health services for students and your staff at Brock. This action plan associated with this would be to continue your work with students, staff, and campus partners. I understand that BUSU's played a critical role in the support for mental health services on campus. So in continuing to maintain a positive trajectory would be part of that action plan. So it's not for some, I just wanted to highlight with this one, some of the action plans are things that you're already doing that you want to continue doing. So we tried to highlight all the great work that you're already doing within this plan. So Mary, I think I'm going to pass it back to you. Oh no, this is mine too, sorry. There's 3 key takeaways that this plan we hope really has for BUSU. So one, obviously you have it now, hopefully, an environmental sustainability plan that outlines your key sustainability strategies and will guide you for the next 3 years. We hope it promotes sustainability to enhance the student experience. Mary and I try and continue to tell anyone who will listen that students are looking for schools that are taking the lead and being environmental leaders. And so having BUSU have a plan that will match the outline of our environmental sustainability plan, I think is just a win for us all and a win for the student experience at Brock overall. And obviously this plan provides you with a starting point to measure your success around sustainability in the future. So, having those benchmarks and being able to track sustainability progress is really key. Mary, over to you for next steps.
Thank you, Amanda. And really, at this point, the document that you have in front of you, I know some of you have reviewed it, but we need the final approval to make sure that it's okay with everyone. If we need to make any corrections, we're happy to do so. Please send them our way. Also, we need your help, and you need to fill those blanks when it comes to accountability and investment. Amanda already alluded to it, how every strategy needs to have both commitment and someone that will be responsible for it. And a third item that BUSU is uniquely qualified to do is to create those key performance indicators that would align with each strategy. You know your operations best, so you already know what information you're collecting as part of your own business processes or your own reporting that you do internally. So you know what information you might already be able to leverage to really be able to track that progress, and what would be the least onerous for you and the team in making sure that you can keep track of those indicators. And then once you have those and you start rolling some of these initiatives, then you'd have to be able to track that progress through the plan. In some cases, depending again on the data that you have, maybe that will be annually or maybe even more frequently than that. In other instances, maybe it's going to be only once every 3 years. So that's really where you need to provide your own spin to it on how you want to be tracking that progress and what metrics to use and how you roll it out. But really, you're at a point where once you have that sorted out, you would be able to implement this plan. And of course, Amanda and myself would be available to provide you with some ideas or suggestions on those KPIs, if that's of any benefit to you, and also to continue to support you as you roll down those initiatives. And we would be more than happy to find synergies with other projects and initiatives that we have down the line.
So James, we'd be willing to take any questions that anyone might have. I'm just going to stop sharing here.
Any questions, comments, or concerns for our presenters? I read over the document last week. Seems pretty good to me. There's not much like anything contentious in there. All right, well, seeing no questions, thanks for coming and presenting to us. Appreciate it.
James, Aaliyah has her hand raised.
It was just the clapping emoji.
Okay.
Can I just say a quick thank you to Amanda and Mary for working with Dave and I on putting together this project. I learned a lot reading through it. A lot of stuff that I had no idea about. I feel like Dave knew a lot more than I did about all the waste sorting and the waste auditing and all that. And yeah, you came up with a lot of really great action items. And I'm really excited to start kind of signing them and see what we can get done sooner rather than later. So thank you very, very much for helping with that.
No, thank you so much for you for having us and for thinking of us in this initiative. And we look forward to more programs, projects, and initiatives to work with BUSU.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Sorry, Amanda, could you make me host again?
Yes, just a second.
Thank you.
Sorry, I will use Teams more. Okay. There you go. I passed it back. See you guys
Perfect.
later.
Thank you so much.
Any discussion? There's actually, like, I read over it, like I was saying, there's nothing really wrong with it except for just one name on the third page that's probably going to have to be changed, and I'll leave it at that because we're not on camera. All right, do I have a mover and a seconder? So be it resolved, the board approves the BUSU sustainability plan as presented. Yasmin and Mark. Anybody abstaining or against? All right, so everybody's for saving the turtles.
Our straws are all biodegradable at Isaac's, just FYI about the straws.
All right, so there was no motion there. There's nothing there. Okay, so motion to move in camera. I'll move that one. Does somebody want to second that? Hannah, thank you. Anybody against going in the camera here? Yeah. We need to invite Andy in here. So we have to hold a vote for that? Yes, okay. So
I'm just going to stop recording for a second.